A humble woman in a hoodie enters Glamour Gems, seeking a gift for her husband, only to be humiliated by manager Derek for looking too ordinary, like most Americans. The crowd mocks and belittles her, unaware their scorn will cost them dearly. Will this everyday woman rise to reclaim her worth and honor for 90% of America, or fade under their contempt? A jaw-dropping twist, razor-sharp dialogue, and a priceless lesson in dignity await. Watch, cheer, and share to fight discrimination. Hoodie in a diamond empire. The bell above the door of Glamour Gems jingled like a warning shot as Sarah Johnson stepped inside. The Los Angeles Mall buzzed outside, but within the jewelry store, time seemed to slow, each tick of the display clocks dripping with pretension. Display cases glowed like museum exhibits, cradling necklaces that could buy a 3-bedroom condo in the suburbs, rings that cost more than a teacher's salary for a decade, and a single vintage watch Sarah Johnson's Target that carried a $75,000 price tag. For most Americans, that was a down payment on a house, a year of scraping by in a city like LA, or a lifetime savings for someone working minimum wage. To the clientele of Glamour Gems, it was just another Tuesday. Sarah, 42, in a faded gray hoodie and scuffed jeans, looked like she'd wandered in from a coffee run, not a shopping spree. Her dark hair was tossed into a messy bun, and her sneakers squeaked faintly on the polished floor. She didn't care. She was here for one thing. A vintage watch for her husband Michael's birthday, a $50,000 piece she'd researched for weeks. It was perfect for him, understated, like her. The air smelled of overpriced perfume and superiority. Sarah's eyes darted to the watch, nestled in a velvet-lined case. She barely touched the glass before a voice sliced through the room like a guillotine. "Excuse me, you. Hands off the merchandise." Derek Baxter, the store manager, strutted forward, his slicked-back hair glinting like his overstarched vest. At 35, Derek had the aura of a man who'd practiced his sneer in the mirror. His eyes raked over Sarah's outfit, lips curling as if she'd tracked mud into his cathedral of capitalism. "That watch is worth more than your entire existence. Step back before you smudge it." Sarah blinked, caught off guard but not rattled. "I'm not smudging anything," she said, her voice calm but edged with amusement. "I'd like to see that watch, please. I'm buying it." Derek's laugh was a sharp bark, loud enough to turn heads. A couple in designer coats paused their browsing, smirking. A young woman filming a TikTok in the corner swiveled her phone, sensing drama. "Buying it?" Derek said, crossing his arms. "Sweetheart, you couldn't afford the box it comes in. Why don't you try the clearance rack at Target?" Sarah raised an eyebrow, unfazed. "I know the price, $50,000. I want to see it up close. Can you do your job, or should I talk to someone who can?" The room went quiet, save for a gasp from Tiffany, a salesgirl in a tight black dress, who hovered nearby like a nervous vulture. Derek's face twitched, his smile turning venomous. "Oh, you've got attitude, huh? Listen, hoodie girl, this isn't a thrift store. We cater to real customers, not wannabes who think they can play rich for a day." Sarah's jaw tightened, but she kept her cool. "It's a gift for my husband. He's meeting me here soon. Just show me the watch, and we'll be done." Derek leaned closer, his cologne choking the air. "Husband? Let me guess, works at a car wash? Or maybe he's your imaginary sugar daddy?" He turned to Tiffany, who stifled a giggle. "Tiff, check the door. We gotta stop letting riffraff in here." Tiffany hesitated, her eyes flicking to Sarah with a hint of guilt. Derek, maybe she's..." "Don't maybe me." Derek snapped, spinning back to Sarah. "You're wasting my time. I've seen your type snapping pics for Instagram, pretending you belong. Newsflash, you don't. This is Glamour Gems, not Goodwill." A middle-aged woman, Lisa, clutching a shopping bag, watched from the corner, her face a mix of shock and sympathy. The TikTok girl zoomed in, whispering to her phone, This guy's a total jerk. Keep watching. Sarah felt the weight of every stare, the humiliation creeping up her neck like a flush. But she wasn't about to let this gel-haired bully win. Look, Sarah said, her voice steady but sharp. I'm a customer, same as anyone here. You don't get to decide who belongs based on my clothes. Now, are you selling me that watch, or do I need to speak to your boss? Derek's eyes narrowed to slits. My boss? Honey, I run this show, and I say you're outta here. He stepped closer, looming over her. You've got 10 seconds to leave, or I'm calling security to drag you out. Trust me, they won't be gentle with someone dressed like a homeless intern. Sarah held his gaze, her heart pounding, but her resolve ironclad. You're making a mistake, she said softly, almost pityingly. A big one. Derek scoffed, grabbing her arm not hard, but enough to make Lisa gasp. Mistake? The only mistake here is you thinking you could walk into my store and fool anyone. Out! Now! He steered her toward the door, his voice dripping with disdain. Go back to whatever discount bin you crawled out of. The glass door loomed as Derek gave her a final shove. Not quite violent, but deliberately humiliating. Sarah stumbled onto the mall's tiled floor, the bell jangling mockingly behind her. Through the window, she saw Derek dusting his hands, laughing with Tiffany as if he'd just swatted a fly. The TikTok girl kept filming, her eyes wide. Lisa slipped out after Sarah, whispering, "That was awful. Are you okay?" Sarah took a deep breath, her hands trembling but her chin high. "I'm fine," she lied, her voice tight. But he's not going to be. Inside, Derek strutted back to the counter, oblivious to the storm brewing. "See, Tiff? That's how you keep the trash out," he bragged, loud enough for the remaining customers to hear. "This place is for winners, not losers in hoodies." What Derek didn't know, what nobody in Glamour Gems knew, was that Sarah's husband, Michael Johnson, was pulling into the mall's parking lot in his unassuming Tesla. And Michael, a tech entrepreneur worth 9 figures, wasn't the type to let anyone call his wife trash and walk away unscathed. As Sarah stood outside, brushing off the sting of humiliation, she glanced at her phone. A text from Michael. 5 minutes away. "Ready for lunch," she typed back, her fingers steady now. "Lunch can wait. You're gonna want to see this." Insults under crystal lights. Sarah Johnson stood rooted to the marble floor of Glamour Gems, her heart thudding like a drum in her chest. The air was thick with a scent of wealth jasmine perfume mingling with the arrogance of a store where a single necklace could cover a family's rent for a decade. The $75,000 vintage watch she'd come for sat smugly in its case, its price tag a middle finger to anyone who didn't summer in the Hamptons. Nearby, a diamond-encrusted bracelet newly arrived, touted as the 2025 collection exclusive, glittered at $120,000. Enough to buy a starter home in most American towns or fund 4 years of college for 2 kids. A pair of earrings, casually labeled limited edition, cost $45,000, more than the annual income of a retail worker grinding 60-hour weeks. This wasn't just a jewelry store. It was a temple to excess, where the price of a trinket mocked the dreams of ordinary people. Sarah, in her frayed hoodie and coffee-stained jeans, was a walking affront to that temple. She tried to stay calm, but Derek Baxter, the store manager, had other plans. His gelled hair glistened like a warning sign, and his tailored vest screamed, "I peaked in high school, but make it fashion." He loomed over her, his sneer so sharp it could cut glass. "So, let me get this straight," he said, his voice dripping with mockery. "You, Miss Laundromat Chic, want to buy a watch that costs more than a Tesla? For your husband? What's he do? Clean pools for the Kardashians?" Sarah's fingers tightened around her phone, but she kept her voice steady. "It's a gift for his birthday. I've done my research. Can you just open the case?" Derek threw his head back and laughed, a sound so grating it made the crystal chandeliers tremble. "Research? Oh, honey, Watching lifestyles of the rich and famous on your cousin's Hulu account doesn't count. He turned to Tiffany, the salesgirl with a ponytail so tight it looked painful. Tiff, you hearing this? She thinks she can just walk in and drop 75 grand like it's pocket change. Tiffany, barely 25, shifted uncomfortably, her eyes scanning Sarah's outfit, hoodie, sneakers, no visible designer logo. She forced a smirk, clearly under Derek's thumb. Yeah, maybe your husband works at a dry cleaner? We don't sell to people who aren't, you know, our level. Her voice wavered, like she knew she was crossing a line, but couldn't afford to defy Derek. Sarah's jaw clenched, but she wasn't backing down. My husband's meeting me here in 15 minutes. I'd like to have the watch wrapped before he arrives. Can we move this along? Derek's eyes gleamed with malicious glee. Oh, a husband? Let me guess, he's got a sweet gig at the gas station, right? Or maybe he's one of those entrepreneurs selling protein shakes on Instagram. He stepped closer, his cologne a noxious cloud. Here's a tip. If you can't afford a decent outfit, you can't afford this. He gestured grandly at the case, where the new 2025 collection bracelet sparkled like a taunt. That piece alone could pay off a nurse's student loans for life. You're not even in the same universe. A couple in their 50s, dripping in Prada and Rolexes, paused their browsing to watch, their faces a mix of amusement and disdain. The woman, her lips Botoxed into a permanent pout, whispered loudly to her husband. Honestly, they should screen people at the door. This is embarrassing. Her husband nodded, adjusting his $10,000 cufflinks, each one worth a year's grocery budget for a family of 4. It's like letting a stray dog into a Michelin star restaurant, he muttered, chuckling. Sarah's cheeks flushed, the weight of their judgment pressing down like a physical force. She pulled out her phone, intending to text Michael for backup, but Derek was faster. He snatched the phone from her hand and tossed it onto the counter with a clatter. Oh, no you don't, he sneered. Don't try that calling my rich husband nonsense. I've seen that scam 100 times. Fake tears, fake story, fake everything. You're not fooling anyone, Walmart Wanda. The nickname landed like a slap. The Prada couple burst out laughing, and even Tiffany cracked a reluctant grin. A teenage girl filming a TikTok in the corner zoomed in, her voice a hushed whisper. Oh my God, this guy's a total tool. This is going viral. Lisa, a single mom clutching a worn-out shopping bag, stood frozen near the exit, her eyes brimming with sympathy, but her feet glued to the floor. She wanted to speak up, but the fear of drawing Derek's wrath kept her silent. Sarah's eyes stung, but she refused to let tears fall. You're wrong about me, she said, her voice low but razor-sharp. And you're going to regret treating people like this. Derek's laugh was a venomous hiss. Regret? The only thing I regret is letting you pass the door. He turned to the crowd, raising his voice like a ringmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, behold the nerve of some people. She thinks she can waltz into Glamour Gems, looking like she just rolled out of a dumpster, and buy a watch that could fund a kid's college degree. This is why we have standards to keep this out. He jabbed a finger at Sarah, his face twisted with contempt. The Prada woman clapped, her diamond rings flashing. Well said, darling. You can't let just anyone in here. It lowers the whole vibe. Her husband chimed in, his voice oily with faux kindness. Maybe she's confused. There's a pawn shop down the street, much more her speed. The couple's hypocrisy was palpable. They played the part of cultured philanthropists. But their glee at Sarah's humiliation exposed their true colors. They weren't here to shop. They were here to feel superior. Sarah's hands trembled, her composure fraying under the onslaught. I'm a customer, she said, her voice rising despite herself. I have every right to be here. You don't get to decide my worth based on my clothes. Derek's eyes narrowed to slits. Worth? You've got none. That hoodie's worth less than the napkins in our break room. He stepped so close she could see the sweat beading under his foundation. "You're a fraud, and you're wasting our time. You want that watch? Show me a black Amex. Or get the hell out before I have security drag you through the mall like the nobody you are." Tiffany, emboldened by Derek's tirade, piped up. "Yeah, like, do you even know what $75,000 means? That's a car. A house deposit. You probably think it's pocket change because you saw it on TikTok, right?" Her tone was cruel, but her eyes flickered with unease, like she was parroting Derek to save her job. The TikTok girl kept filming, her whispers growing frantic. "This is insane. He's literally bullying her. Someone needs to stop this guy." Lisa took a hesitant step forward, then stopped, her hands twisting the straps of her bag. The Prada couple leaned in, eating up the drama like it was a reality show. Sarah's throat tightened, her eyes red but defiant. She locked eyes with Derek, her voice barely above a whisper but heavy with conviction. "You don't know who I am, but you will, and you'll wish you'd treated me and everyone else with a shred of decency." Derek's face contorted into a grotesque smile. "Who you are? You're nothing. Trash belongs in the bin, and that's where you're going." He grabbed her arm, his fingers digging in just enough to sting, and shoved her toward the door. "Out now! And don't come back unless you've got a trust fund and a stylist." The crowd parted as Derek marched Sarah to the exit, his voice booming. "Let this be a lesson, folks. Glamour Gems is for winners, not whiners." The door swung open, and he pushed her onto the mall's tiled floor with a flourish, slamming it shut. Through the glass, Sarah saw him strut back to the counter, high-fiving Tiffany. "Another day, another loser sent packing," he crowed, as the Prada couple applauded. Lisa slipped out, her voice trembling. "I'm so sorry. That was vile. Are you okay?" Sarah's hands shook, but she straightened her spine. "I will be," she said, her voice tight with resolve. "He's about to learn what happens when you judge the wrong person." Outside, a Tesla pulled into the parking lot. Michael Johnson, Sarah's husband and a tech mogul worth a fortune, checked his phone. Sarah's text glowed on the screen. "Hurry. This guy's begging for a reality check. Twist that burns the smug." Sarah Johnson stood outside Glamour Gems, the mall's fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows on her face. Her hands still trembled from Derek Baxter's humiliating shove, but she forced herself to breathe, each inhale a vow to stay composed. The glass door of the store loomed like a guillotine. Behind it, the glittering world of $75,000 watches and $120,000 bracelets, items that could buy a modest house, clear a family's medical debt, or fund a lifetime's groceries for someone scraping by. The nerve of Derek calling her trash over a hoodie burned in her chest. She wasn't just angry for herself. She was angry for every person who'd ever been judged by their clothes instead of their character. A low hum broke her thoughts. A sleek Tesla pulled up to the curb, its matte black finish understated, but unmistakable. Michael Johnson stepped out, his navy button-down shirt slightly wrinkled, a $20,000 Patek Philippe watch glinting on his wrist, the only hint of his tech mogul wealth. At 45, he had the easy confidence of a man who'd built a fortune from nothing, his dark eyes sharp with focus. Lisa, the single mom who'd followed Sarah out, rushed toward him, her Macy's bag swinging. "You're her husband, right?" Michael nodded, his jaw tight. "They just humiliated your wife in there," she said, voice shaking. "Called her trash, threw her out like she was nothing. It was disgusting." Michael's gaze flicked to Sarah, who stood with her arms crossed, her eyes red but resolute. He took her hand, his touch steadying her. "You okay, babe?" he asked, his voice low, laced with a quiet fury. Sarah shook her head, her lips tight. "I'm fine, Mike. But I don't want this to just blow over. They need to learn what happens when you treat people like garbage." Michael's eyes darkened, a storm brewing behind his calm facade. "Oh, they will." He squeezed her hand. Let's go give them a lesson they won't forget. Sarah managed a small smile. Don't go full CEO on them. Just make it count. Michael grinned, a dangerous edge to it. Count? By the time I'm done, they'll be rewriting their employee handbook. He turned toward the store, purpose in every step, Sarah at his side. Lisa trailed behind, whispering, I hope you make them eat their words. Inside Glamour Gems, the air was thick with smug satisfaction. Derek Baxter strutted like a peacock, high-fiving Tiffany as the Prada couple from earlier clapped approvingly. That's how you keep the riffraff out, Derek boasted, his gelled hair catching the light. This place is for winners, not wannabes. The $75,000 watch Sarah had wanted gleamed in its case, a silent witness to the drama, while a new 2025 collection necklace, $150,000, enough to fund a small business or a decade of childcare, sparkled nearby. Its price tag a cruel joke to anyone outside the 1%. The bell chimed as Michael and Sarah entered, and the room fell silent, like a predator had just walked in. Derek spun around, his smirk faltering for a split second before snapping back into place. He smoothed his vest and hurried over, his voice oozing fake charm. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Glamour Gems. We have the finest pieces for a gentleman of your obvious taste. Perhaps a diamond cufflink set? Only $30,000, perfect for... Shut it, Michael cut him off, his voice cold as steel, slicing through Derek's spiel like a blade. The Prada couple froze, their champagne flutes clinking nervously. The TikTok girl, still filming from the corner, zoomed in, whispering, Oh, this is about to go down. Derek blinked, his smile twitching. I beg your pardon? Michael stepped forward, towering over Derek despite their similar height. You called my wife trash. Shoved her out of your store like she was a shoplifter. You think you're some kind of gatekeeper, deciding who's worthy? Who the hell do you think you are? Derek's face drained of color, his eyes darting to Sarah, who stood behind Michael, her expression a mix of defiance and quiet rage. Why your wife? He stammered, sweat beading on his forehead. I had no idea. It was a misunderstanding, sir. I swear. She looked like... Like what? Sarah snapped, stepping forward, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. Like I didn't belong? Like I couldn't afford a $75,000 watch because I wore a hoodie? You don't know me, but you sure as hell judged me. Derek's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. I didn't mean Mrs. Ma'am, Michael raised a hand, silencing him. Save it. He pulled out his phone, swiping to an email with a deliberate slowness that made Derek squirm. Let's clear up this misunderstanding. My company finalized a deal this morning. Guess who now owns Glamour Gems? He turned the screen toward Derek, the email header reading, Acquisition complete. Glamour Gems Retail Group. That's right, genius. I'm your new boss. So, tell me, feeling powerful now? A collective gasp rippled through the store. The Prada woman spilled her champagne, her Botoxed lips forming a perfect O. Tiffany, clutching a display cloth, whispered to a co-worker, He's done. Derek's so screwed. The TikTok girl squealed under her breath. This is gold. Million views easy. Derek's knees wobbled, but he forced a laugh, shrill and desperate. Sir, you don't understand. I was protecting the store's reputation. We get all sorts of undesirables trying to. Undesirables? Michael's voice was a low growl, his eyes boring into Derek's soul. You mean anyone who doesn't look like they bathe in money? You're not protecting anything, you're just a bully with a name tag. Before Derek could respond, Tiffany stepped forward, her hands shaking but her voice firm. Mr. Johnson, I have to say something. She glanced at Derek, fear flashing in her eyes, then pressed on. Derek's been doing worse than just kicking out customers. He forces us to push away anyone who doesn't look rich to boost sales numbers. Says it keeps the vibe elite. And she swallowed hard. He's been skimming our commissions, taking half our bonuses to pad his own paycheck. The store erupted in murmurs. The Prada couple exchanged uneasy glances, their sanctimonious masks slipping. Derek's face turned purple, his voice a shriek. "You lying little snake. Shut your mouth, Tiffany, or I'll make sure you're flipping burgers by tomorrow." Michael's laugh was cold, cutting through Derek's tantrum. "Flipping burgers? Derek, you're not firing anyone. You're the one who's done." He leaned in, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. "You think you can treat people like garbage and get away with it? I'll make sure every store in LA knows your name, and not in a good way." Derek staggered back, clutching the counter. You can't do this. I've built this place." Michael straightened, his presence commanding the room. "Here's a fun fact. Money doesn't buy dignity, but it can teach a lesson to punks like you." He turned to Sarah, his voice softening. "Babe, you still want that watch?" Sarah stepped forward, picking up the $75,000 chronograph with a steady hand. She locked eyes with Derek, her voice calm but searing. "I'm not buying this because I'm rich. I'm buying it because I deserve respect, something you wouldn't understand if it came with a price tag." The TikTok girl nearly dropped her phone, whispering, "Iconic. She's a queen." Lisa, standing near the door, clapped softly, tears in her eyes. Michael turned back to Derek, his tone final. "You've got two choices. Enroll in a respect training program supervised by my wife, or pack your bags and pray you find a job cleaning mall toilets. What's it gonna be?" Derek's shoulders slumped, his bravado crumbling. "I'll do the training," he mumbled, his voice barely audible. Sarah tilted her head, her smile sharp. "Better mean it, Derek, because I'll be watching. And I don't forget." Michael draped an arm around her, grinning. "That's my girl. Now, wrap the watch. We've got a birthday to celebrate." As Tiffany scrambled to process the sale, the Prada couple slunk toward the exit, their earlier smugness replaced by shame. The TikTok girl uploaded her video, captioning it, "Manager humiliates customer, instantly regrets it." #justice served. The store buzzed with whispers, the story already spreading like wildfire. Dignity trumps all. The air in Glamour Gems crackled with tension as Tiffany, her hands trembling, wrapped the $75,000 vintage watch in a velvet-lined box. It's price enough to buy a family a new start or erase years of debt. The store, once a fortress of elitism, felt like a courtroom, with Derek Baxter on trial. His gelled hair was wilting under the weight of his own disgrace, his tailored vest now a costume for a man exposed as a fraud. The Prada couple had slunk to the back, their earlier smugness replaced by the awkward shuffle of people who'd bet on the wrong horse. The TikTok girl, still filming, grinned like she just struck gold, her phone capturing every second of the drama. Michael Johnson stood at the center of it all, his arm around Sarah, his presence a quiet storm. At 45, he was a tech mogul who'd built a fortune from grit, not privilege, and his fury at Derek's cruelty was matched only by his pride in his wife. Sarah, her frayed hoodie a badge of defiance, held the wrapped watch, her eyes locked on Derek. The $150,000 2025 collection necklace gleamed in a nearby case, its price a decade's rent for most Angelenos, a reminder of the world Derek had tried to gatekeep. Derek, his face a sickly shade of gray, clutched the counter for support. "Mr. Johnson," he stammered, his voice a pathetic whine. "I'll do the training. I'll change. Please, this job is my life." Michael's laugh was sharp, devoid of warmth. "Your life? You built it on bullying people like my wife, stealing from your staff, and kissing up to phonies like them." He jerked his head toward the Prada couple, who flinched as if slapped. "You don't get to play victim now." Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady but blazing with conviction. "You called me trash, Derek. Said I didn't belong because I didn't look like your idea of rich. But you know what? I'm not here to prove my bank account. I'm here to prove you don't get to decide anyone's worth. She held up the watch box, her smile cutting. This? It's for my husband, who values people, not price tags. You could learn from him if you're capable of learning at all. The TikTok girl gasped, whispering to her phone. She's serving. This is iconic. Lisa, the single mom, wiped a tear from her cheek, clapping softly. You tell him, honey, she murmured, finding her voice at last. Derek's eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape. Mrs. Johnson, I'm sorry, okay? I was wrong. I didn't know who you were. Sarah's laugh was soft but lethal. That's the problem, Derek. You shouldn't need to know who I am to treat me like a human being. You humiliated me in front of everyone, not because I couldn't pay, but because you thought I wasn't enough. Well, guess what? You're the one who's not enough. Michael grinned, pride flashing in his eyes. Couldn't have said it better. He turned to Derek, his tone final. Here's the deal. You're enrolled in a respect training program starting Monday. Sarah's overseeing it every session, every step. You'll learn to treat everyone with dignity, or you're out. And trust me, I've got enough pull to make sure no store in this city touches you. Derek's shoulders slumped, his bravado shattered. I'll do it, he mumbled, barely audible, his eyes fixed on the floor. Sarah tilted her head, her voice cool. You'd better mean it, because I'm not here to babysit a grown man who thinks respect is optional. Step out of line, and you're done. Tiffany, still clutching the wrapping paper, spoke up, her voice trembling but resolute. Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry too. Derek pressured us to act like him. But I should have stood up. I want to do better. Her eyes flicked to Sarah, pleading. Can I stay? Michael glanced at Sarah, who nodded slightly. You get a chance, he said. But you're in the training too. Prove you mean it. Tiffany exhaled, relief flooding her face. Thank you. I will. The Prada couple, sensing the tide had turned, tried to slip out, but Michael's voice stopped them cold. Not so fast. You two laughed while my wife was humiliated. Clapped like it was a sport. You think you're above this. He gestured to the necklace case. That $150,000 trinket you were eyeing? It's a shiny distraction from the fact that you're no better than Derek. Money doesn't make you decent, it just makes you loud. The woman's Botoxed lips quivered, her husband tugging her arm. We didn't mean anything by it, she stammered, but they scurried out, their designer bags bouncing in defeat. The TikTok girl uploaded her video, her fingers flying. The caption read, Manager destroyed after bullying customer. Wife and husband are legends. Hashtag respect everyone. Within minutes, the clip racked up thousands of views, comments flooding in. This is everything. Derek's done for. Sarah's my hero. Michael handed the watch box to Sarah, his voice warm. Happy birthday shopping, babe. Sorry it came with a side of jerk. Sarah laughed, the tension melting from her shoulders. Worth it to see his face. Let's get out of here, I'm starving. As they turned to leave, Lisa approached, her eyes shining. You two are incredible. I was too scared to speak up, but thank you for showing him what's what. Sarah squeezed her hand. You're here now. That's what matters. The couple stepped into the mall, the weight of the ordeal lifting with each step. Behind them, Glamour Gems buzzed with whispers, the story already a legend. Derek stood alone at the counter, his empire of arrogance reduced to rubble. Knowing Sarah's training program would be his daily reminder of today's lesson. That night, over dinner at their favorite taco joint, Sarah and Michael toasted with cheap margaritas. To dignity, Michael said, clinking her glass. To teaching bullies they're not untouchable, Sarah added, grinning. And to that watch looking damn good on you. The TikTok video hit 1 million views by midnight, sparking a hashtag. Hashtag respect everyone. Comments poured in from across the globe. This is why we don't judge by appearances. Sarah and Michael for president. The story wasn't just a moment, it was a movement. And to you, reading this, if this story fired you up, hit that like button and share it with the world. Subscribe to our channel for more tales of justice, where we take down discrimination and lift up the power of respect. Let's spread the word. No one's worth is measured by their clothes, their cash, or their status. Together, we can build a world that's fairer, brighter, and full of heart. Tell us in the comments where are you watching from, and who's the Sarah or Michael in your life. Let's keep the fight for dignity alive.